Well, my name is James. Grew up in Iowa, but I've moved all over. I've been in Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville, Charlotte, Dallas, Las Vegas, LA, and now Phoenix. So I've been traveling a lot here and there. And I do enjoy Phoenix. Just like my man said too. I've only been here 4 months, so still getting to know it, but I do enjoy it quite a bit so far. See what else. What else did you need to know?
Oh yeah, what's your background? What's your ethnic background?
Okay. Yeah, I'm an old guy. I came from Vietnam. I don't know if any of you have ever done the history of the Vietnam War, but I came during the Vietnam War, or right at the end of the Vietnam War, which was in 1975. So that kind of puts my age on me right now. But I came over on Operation Baby Lift. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not, no.
So Operation Baby Lift, you can Google it. But basically, at the end of the war, uh, the president of the United States and the U.S. said we can't leave all these babies at time of war. So they put us all on planes, cargo planes, cardboard boxes, and flew us over to the United States to be adopted. So I came over on Operation Baby Lift, is what it's called. So I was adopted when I was a baby. So
Wow.
in Operation Baby Lift, there are three planes that were leaving. One of them crashed. So I was very, very lucky to make it. And so I've had a blessed life here in the United States, and was adopted by a very good family who they adopted many other kids as well. So they were kind of the original Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt of the just weren't filthy rich like them, but
Oh.
close to my family and stuff like that. So it's good. But yeah, like I said, I'm pretty old, so uh, I was introduced to AMBW community probably about 10 years ago, and I had no idea what it was, and you know what it stood for. But at the time, there was a group that was running an organization or a group as well, and all these girls are hitting me up saying congratulations, congratulations, and I didn't know what they were congratulating me for. And I guess somebody or some of my friends submitted my pictures as to sexiest Asian, whatever, and I guess I won. So I guess that's how I figured out what AMBW was. But yeah, so from that point on, I just knew about it uh, and just follow all these pages and stuff. But I was actually before I even knew about AMBW, I was married to my ex-wife. She's African American, and so um, I was married to her for probably about 8 years. I don't know, a long time. But yeah, so it's kind of cool because I was a teacher at the time, and I taught at inner city urban school, so they all knew that I had a black wife, and so it's kind of cool because I kind of set the example for kids that date outside of their race. That wasn't typical that you would see in most schools, and there are a lot of Laotian kids, Cambodian kids, you know, black kids, so um, yeah, so kids started dating interracially. Um, I kind of set the pattern, I think, for some of them. And even now, when I see some of my former students, a lot of them did get married to Asian guys or dating Asian guys. So
Oh.
that's kind of cool. Yeah, yeah. I keep in
Well,
touch with a lot of them. And like I said, I'm old, so yeah. I mean, growing up in Iowa, where majority, Iowa is mostly white, and especially during the 80s and 70s, multicultural education wasn't really a big thing, right? And so growing up, I mean, experienced quite a bit of racism, discrimination, things like that. And when you're younger, you don't know how to deal with it, especially when you're the only person of color. I have my brothers, my older brothers, which is good because they like to fight. So I had them to help me out. But overall, it's just like, you just think people are racist. But as I got older, I realized most of the people weren't necessarily racist. The white people in the community is just really ignorant. They didn't know any better. I mean, it was, grew in a small town, so they didn't even know. know what to call me when it came to derogatory terms. Um, I mean, they even call me the N-word just because they didn't know what to
Oh,
call me. Yeah, so I mean, so that's what I mean. It wasn't necessarily right. I mean, there's racism, of course, but if you're that ignorant, we don't even know what to call the person by their stereotypical derogatory name, and then eventually they figured it out and called me Gook and all that stuff. But but yeah, it was tough, but things have changed. I think it's gotten better. Some people would argue differently. Um, but even when I was, like I went to the park once with this girl, took her on a little park date or whatever, and I mentioned something that was Asian, and she looks at me and she's like, "Is that what they call you people?" And so initially I was like, "What? What did you just say? You didn't, is that what you call you people?" And then I realized when I got home, I was like, "Well, how would she know, right? How would she know what I was? Because we weren't taught anything about Asian history. There weren't any Asians on TV really, other than Long Duck Dong on 16 Candles. But
right.
other than that, I mean, how would she have known what I was since it was never really explained to her? And so I wasn't mad at her. I just realized that some people are just, if you don't learn it, you're not going to know it. Same thing
Right.
me. I mean, there's a lot of things that I probably say are very sexist, but if a woman doesn't put me in check, I probably would never even see that perspective.
Right.
I mean, Phoenix is kind of like being in the Midwest because so many people migrate here from the Midwest.
Yeah.
I mean, majority of people I'd say who live in Phoenix or in the outskirts, probably from the Midwest. So it feels like the Midwest. But I mean, you encounter it, you see it, but when you get a certain age, you don't let stuff bother you. You know, you just move on. You say, okay, you can't change people, right? And so you can argue with them, but it's not going to change their mind. And so, but if it comes to any confrontational stuff, that's a different story. But that doesn't happen very often, in my world. So, but I lived in the South and North Carolina and Florida, and it's different. The South is different. So, it's a lot more Confederate flags, things like that. So you never know what you're going to encounter. But all the times I lived in the South, I didn't really encounter too much. Um, so nothing like when I was growing up. Uh,
Right.
I mean, I guess when you're young too, I was like 15, 16 years old, grown adults, you know, picking on you. What are you going to do when you're a kid? But when you're a man, no one's going to say much to you. So they'll refer to pretty much every Asian as Chinese or even Oriental, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
they're older people, right? So I don't sit there to correct them. I just know they're old, right? And I could get, try to correct them and tell them you shouldn't be saying that, but you know, it's their life, But
Yeah.
it's also you encounter a lot. You could either take it as offensive or you can just say whatever. And so
Right.
I've been to the point where it's like, you know, they don't treat me poorly. Yeah, they might say that. I don't think they mean any harm by it. You know,
Right.
it's like, I mean, they're grandparents' age, some of them. So, you
Yeah.
just kind of see it as like, you know, what are you gonna tell your grandma? Tell her she's racist?
No, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it was a long time ago when I met her, and I went out with one of my friends, and I think the friend I went out with, she was kind of liking me, I guess, but I wasn't really digging her. But we went to a club, and it was actually at the Mall of America in Minneapolis when they had clubs, and so I saw my ex-wife there. I got her number, went on a date, and kind of a one night stand that turned into 8 years. So
That is awesome, man. That's great. I
yeah, but
mean,
she had kids, so I became instant stepdad, instant family. So
it's the
and
family.
the good thing is I still keep in touch with the kids. They're all grown up and they have their own kids, so I guess I'm a step granddad. So
Yeah.
But I go visit them when I can. I go with kids now that they're grown up, and you know, so I keep in touch with them, and I keep in touch with my ex-wife, just as friends, of course, just to make sure that the house is good and the kids are good.
Well, that's great, man. Yeah. I mean, I think that's
Yeah,
great.
not too many people would take on an instant family. I think I was at, but I don't, put a lot of time in it. My prime years, my 20s,
Yeah.
but I don't regret it.
No.
When it comes to Asian men, I mean, Asians, we have a pretty positive stereotype. We're supposed to be smart, we're artistic. The one thing against Asian men, of course, is the sex part. That always works against us. But you know, but that's about the only negative part about it. I guess that's a big part when you're in the dating scene. That's why it's like when Asians get upset, it's like, well, we're like other ethnicities or races where their stereotypes are very negative. We actually have very positive stereotypes. Yeah, we don't all fit the model minority, but um, you know, I think most other ethnic races would love to have our stereotype
Yeah.
of being smart,
Yeah. Yeah.
being hard
Yeah.
workers.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird how, yeah, we know that no one wants to be stereotyped as one category. White people don't want to be categorized as one. So
Right. Yeah.
it's just natural. No one wants to be categories or broad assumptions. But at least ours is a positive broad assumption.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, no, not really. Not just. I dated many other women, just my ex-wife, but no. There was one time my ex-wife and I went down to like Oklahoma or something, and walked by some black dudes, and uh, they didn't think she was black, just because she was with me, you know. But but that was about it. And then, most of the time, actually, uh, usually when I go on dates or something, I actually get complimented on, or like, oh man, you got yourself a nice looking woman, right? So it's never been a negative thing, you know. It's never been like, you know, what the fuck you doing with her, blah blah blah. It's always been a positive interaction, with people. And it could be a black guy, it could be a white guy, it could be another woman, Asian woman or a black woman. It's always been complimentary. So I've never encountered any negative encounters when I was with a black woman. It's always been complimentary, yeah. Which you wouldn't think, but in my experience, it has been.